Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is a channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. Welcome to my new TBR game and welcome to the first TBR video of 2023. If you've watched my videos in recent months, you'll know that I used to play a Snakes and Ladders TBR game, but I decided that in 2023 I wanted to change it up a bit, mostly because I just wanted to have a bit more fun with creating my TBR, and so I have created this, which is TBR Carnival. Essentially, I got really nostalgic for all the old Carnival games that I used to play back in Australia, and I thought I would build an entire TBR game around that nostalgia. Every single month I'll play a different Carnival game. Obviously these are all based on the ones that I saw growing up, so if there are any that you would recommend me doing over the next few months or in future, do come and let me know about them in the comments down below. As for today, we're going super simple and we are just going to do a lucky dip. I have put a bunch of prompts into this Illumicrate book sack thing, and I'm gonna pick out a prompt 5 times and find a book that relates to that prompt. Let's pick our first prompt. This one, whatever this says, random letter generator, and I have to pick a book that starts with that letter. So I've got the random letter generator up on my phone and I'm recording the screen. I'll paste it here so you can see. So C is just what it came up with first, so let's generate a random letter. I have to find a book that starts with the letter R. The book that I've selected is going to be Reputation by Lex Croucher. This is a very recent purchase for me and it's supposed to be kind of Bridgerton-esque. As for what it's about, it says, Regency just got a little more rebellious. Abandoned by her parents in favor of a sea view, middle-class Georgiana Ellers has moved to a new town to live with her dreary aunt and uncle. At a particularly dull dinner party, she meets the enigmatic Frances Campbell, a wealthy socialite and enchanting member of the in-crowd. Through Frances and her friends, Georgiana is introduced to a new world of wild parties, drunken debauchery, mysterious young men with strangely alluring hands, and the sparkling upper echelons of Regency society. But high society isn't all it's cracked up to be, and the price of entry might be more than Georgiana is willing to pay. This sounds super fun, so first book done. Second prompt is going to be this one, which is most recent purchase. My most recent purchase is actually The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the 4th book in the From Blood and Ash series. I haven't read that series in ages, so I'm doing a reread at the moment, which I think will be coming out in a couple weeks. As for what that's about, I'm just going to read you the blurb of my amazing, I think it's Fairy Loot version of this series. It says, a maiden, chosen from birth to usher in a new era. Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself, because a maiden has a heart and a soul and longing. And when Hawke, a golden-eyed guard honor-bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. A kingdom. Forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals, a fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. This is a very fun, spicy fantasy romance series. Definitely enemies to lovers. Yeah, I'm super excited to jump into the 4th book. I know there was a bit of controversy about it when it first came out earlier this year, but I'm intrigued and I want to see what I think for myself. That is going to be the 2nd book. Our 3rd prompt is going to be, let's see if we can mix it up and pick like an interesting action prompt or something. Oh, there we go. We got what we wished for. So the 3rd prompt is scrap it and start over, which basically means I have to find new books for the prompts that I've already gotten so far. The prompts I've gotten so far were random letter generator, and the letter that I got was R. I have to find another book that I own that starts with the letter R. And then the 2nd prompt was most recent purchase. I'll be back in a second with 2 new books. Okay, so we've got 2 new books. The first one is for the begins with the letter R prompt, and that is The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. I don't count the because 99% of my books start with the, and it's about a girl named Addie and her sister. They're on an epic road trip to Scotland to go to a friend's wedding, and as they're setting off, another car slams into theirs and they sort of have an accident. They pull over to the side of the road, and it just so happens that in the other car is Addie's ex and then another guy who I think is his best mate. We don't really like him. I read a chapter of this ages ago, and because the second car is no longer working, Addie has no choice but to to offer her ex and his best mate a ride to this wedding in Scotland because they're all going together. Addie and Dylan having to confront their very messy breakup and relationship. I'm super excited to pick this up. It is one of those books where I've read quite a bit of it, but then I stopped reading it because something else came up, and now I'm really keen to get back into it. And as for the second book, which was a recent purchase, a very recent purchase for me was Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, which is the second book in the Bright Falls series by Ashley Herring Blake. The first one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I really loved that one, and then I cannot wait for this one as well. Unfortunately, the very existence of this book is kind of a spoiler for the previous book. If you haven't read the first book and you want to, just skip over now. As for what this is about, it follows Astrid Parker, and it says, for Astrid Parker, failure is unacceptable. Ever since she broke up with her fiance a year ago, she's been focused on her career. So when she's asked to be the designer for the Everwood Inn's renovation to be featured on a hugely popular home makeover show, Astrid is thrilled. Not only will the project be the perfect distraction, but her perpetually displeased mother might finally give her a nod of approval. However, Astrid never planned on Jordan Everwood, lead carpenter for the renovation. Jordan is determined to preserve the history of her family's inn, particularly as the rest of her life is in shambles. When that determination turns into some light sabotage to ruffle Astrid's perfect little feathers, the showrunners ask them to play up the tension. But somewhere along the way, their dislike for each other evolves into something quite different. It's time for Astrid to decide if she's going to pursue the life that she's expected to lead or the one that she really wants. Let's pick the third prompt and get 3 more books, hopefully with no more actions. And our third prompt is going to be, let's swish these around a little bit and pick this one. Read a book from an author new to me. I'm gonna go find this book. So for this prompt, I've picked Guild by Raven Kennedy. I bought this entire series while I was in Australia in September, and I haven't actually gotten around to reading it. I'm just kind of intrigued by this series. I believe it's a King Midas retelling. As for what it's about, it says, it's the arrogance of men to think so little of women, and it will be their downfall. This is the story of King Midas, or that's what we're always told. The golden king with his palace of riches, and me, the girl he turned to gold. Upon the snowy mountains in the 6th kingdom of Araya, I'm locked away in Highbell Castle, away from the dangers of the world below. No one can get in apart from him. King Midas rescued me from the streets. He gave me food, shelter, and his heart. I promise to love him forever. But when war comes to the kingdom, a deal is struck, and I am at the heart of the bargain. Everything I know starts to change. My love for Midas challenged, my trust broken. Suddenly, I'm sent to travel between kingdoms to a future I no longer understand, and my spirit becomes truly tested. I'm always told this is his tale, but perhaps that is no longer the case. It's mine. I'm kind of intrigued to see this from the girl's perspective. That's prompt number 3. Let's get 2 more books. Next prompt is going to be this one, and it says a random number generator and then pick that number from Goodreads. Basically, I have to generate a random number, go through my Goodreads and find a book on my owned TBR section of Goodreads that correlates to that number. So I've got Goodreads up on my phone. Let's go to the random number generator, generate the number 6. Okay, so I have to find the 6th book on this list that I haven't already read. So We All Fall Down is number 1, 2, that's 3 within these wicked walls. 4 is the X-Hex, Book of Night is 5, and 6 is the Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So I'm gonna go get that book. So this is book number 4 on my TBR. It is the Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. It's the winner of the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2021 for horror. So love that. And I believe it's about a bunch of final girls who have come together in a support group. Final girls being, you know, the last person to survive some horrific event. And then all of a sudden, one by one, they start dying and disappearing as well. So these girls' worst fears are realized as someone has discovered this group and is picking it apart piece by piece. Super intrigued by this. I'm not a huge fan of horror. My thoughts will be interesting on this one. If it won the Goodreads Choice Awards for horror, I guess that means a lot of people liked it, so maybe I'll like it too. And then we've got our final prompt. Let's mix this up and pick this one. And this one is dice roll roulette. So I have to roll the dice, and then for each dot it represents 50 pages, and then I have to find a book that is the right length on that dice. Okay, so I've got the virtual dice roller up on my phone. I put 2 dice on there because I don't want to get something like 1 and then it has to be like 50 pages long. So I've got 2 dice, and that will hopefully get us something a bit more significant. So let's roll the dice, and we've got 7. So I have to find a book that is around 350 pages long. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I found a book. It's gonna be Kiss My Cupcake by Helena Hunting. This is a book that's been on my TBR for literally forever, and I've never gotten around to reading it. Finally about time that I picked it up because it's on my books that are going to self-destruct in 12 months list. So if I want to read it, then I need to read it soon. And it's basically about Blair Calloway, who owns a cupcake store. And then I think just next door, a sports bar opened up by a guy named Ronan Knight. And obviously they immediately become competitors. She's immediately annoyed at him for ruining the whole aesthetic and vibe of her space. So they start this like battle to win new customers. But when an even bigger threat comes to town, they are forced to team up and put aside their sort of petty one-up in each other competitions. And obviously sparks fly and romance ensues because it is a fun little romance. So this is going to be the last book on my TBR for the month. So these are the 5 books on my TBR for January. We've got The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary, Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake, Guild by Raven Kennedy, The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, and Kiss My Cupcake by Helena Hunting. Super, super excited for this stack. There's definitely some books in here that I've been wanting to read for quite a while. Let me know what you thought of this TBR Carnival game down below. Let me know if you're excited to see what some of the other Carnival games are going to be. I can promise all sorts of fun things like ring toss and knocking down cans and all sorts of things. It's going to be a super, super fun time this year, or at least I hope it's going to be. But let me know what you thought of this one, if you like this idea, and if you play a TBR game of your own, do let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know what you're going to be reading for January. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It is a super, super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!